Hey, it's Dave and Evelyn from the Camera Store.
And today we're taking a look at Sony's ZV compact vlogging lineup.
All right, Ev, so Sony has the ZV-1 Mark II on the market now. We also have the original ZV-1, and we also have a ZV-1F.
Yes, and of course they also have their ZV-E series as well for their interchangeable lens cameras. We're not talking about those in this video. We wanted to condense it down to the 3 compact units to see what different modes do they have, what are some of the feature differences, give you an overview of some of the differences, and hopefully help you decide.
All right, Ev, so we have 3 cameras here, including the entry level at $649, the ZV-1F. Now the F stands for fixed. It's a fixed lens, no zoom on it at all. It's a 20mm lens that you would think would be very good for vlogging. However, it's not our favorite camera by any stretch.
No, it's not our favorite for a lot of reasons. Within this lineup, I mean, it doesn't have optical stabilization. We have an older sensor that's not stacked. It's a lot slower scanning, so you have more rolling shutter issues, things like that.
We also have contrast detect focus only, so the focusing tends to be a little jittery rather than the phase detect options.
Yeah, I'd call this maybe more of like a vlogging camera if you were like in a seated position, like kind of a desk camera, not something where you're gonna go out and about with it. So we're gonna actually get rid of this from the lineup. We're just gonna toss it right out of here. Now we have 2 of our favorite compact vlogging cameras from Sony. We have the ZV-1 and the ZV-1 II.
Now, what are the differences between these? Well, there's a lot of similarities to start with. Right off the bat, they both share the exact same sensor. It's a 20 megapixel 1-inch sensor that is stacked, so the readout speed is very fast.
And it also is paired with the same processor. So it's the Bion's X processor. It can shoot up to 24 frames per second with the electronic shutter. And we're gonna talk about photography a little bit later on. But when you look at these, I mean, the price difference is still significant. So we're going to talk about why that price difference might be there.
Now, we certainly feature the same screen and very similar layout to these cameras, so they feel very much alike when you first get your hands on them. So the biggest difference comes from the lens.
Yeah, so on my case, I have the 24 to 70mm equivalent f1.8 to f2.8.
Yeah, and on my camera, the Mark II, we have a wider angle, which I think is very conducive for vlogging. It's an 18 to 50mm lens, 1.8 to f4.
Yeah, now you may say that. However, I think it should be noted that my lens is actually brighter throughout the entire range. So it's a faster lens, where yours does get to f4 when you hit about like the 35mm range. So neither camera are particularly bokeh cameras. You're not getting super shallow depth of field, but you should be aware of that when you're looking at these 2 cameras. Dave, today we both chose to put some nice vlogging accessories so we can do our vlogging, and I'm using the Sony grip remote, which I really like. You can get it in that vlogging accessory kit, but I'm getting a little bit annoyed. Do you have any ideas why?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The original ZV-1 had its Q20 thread on the bottom, very central to the camera, which prevents you, when you're mounting even a very small accessory like this, from getting to your battery and your memory card without having to take it off. Now the ZV-1 Mark II has an offset Q20 thread, which is great because I have easy access to my battery and my memory card without having to take it apart.
Yeah, I'm definitely a little jelly of your tripod socket placement. That's fantastic. And I also have to mention that your camera has the added benefit of doing USB-C powering while you're shooting video. So if you have a power bank, it gives you that extra portability, that extra power option. I would say one of the biggest differences between these cameras is the experience of using them. You have the new interface, the new menu system, where everything is just better categorized and easier to find things. I just love Sony's 2.0 menu system.
And when you're vlogging, the functionality is much improved. When I have the screen facing me, I can now interface with it and make some changes, whatever I need to do, while the camera's still facing me.
Yeah, it's a great touch screen navigation. And I also like that you have some features that are more similar to your smartphone. So for example, while you're filming, if you want to go into the more of an automatic mode, you can adjust things like brightness and color with some different sort of swipeable options. So that's great. And for people that are used to shooting video on their phones, they're going to find that to be quite familiar.
Now I do like that both of these cameras do have what I call a proper articulating screen. This is one of my favorite articulating screen styles, how it comes off to the side like this and does allow me to tilt upwards or downwards for different angles.
Yeah, you also flip it inwards to protect it when you're not using it, and it's a very pocketable camera. When it comes to autofocus, both the ZV-1 and the ZV Mark II use Sony's real-time tracking autofocus. It is awesome, but there is addition with the Mark II. You get animal tracking when you're shooting movies.
And one thing that I know about people is that if they don't like vlogging themselves, the one thing they like vlogging even more are their animals. So having this additional feature really helps out. It really kind of completes this camera. Now, when it comes to the controls of these cameras, they're identical in how they operate. Really well laid out controls with a little bit of customization, but what I think Sony has done a fantastic job with is that if you are brand new to photography or videography or vlogging, you're not really sure what you're doing, there's complete automatic modes, and they make it very easy to work with, but you certainly can step it up and go into full manual in both stills and in video.
Yeah, and I love that we have like the cinematic mode that allows you to shoot in 24p, but then instead of like you worrying about color grading, you can do it right out of camera where you have both moods and looks to your video footage. So we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the video functionality that you have, but for now, let's get into audio. Okay, Drew is filming us right now on a ZV-1 Mark II.
Yeah, so you get a feel for what to expect from the stabilization, and also we are recording through a Rode wireless Go mic right now, so the audio should sound very good.
Which we always recommend this, especially if you're getting more serious about video, you want to have good audio.
Yeah, now one thing though, this camera does have a very decent built-in microphone, but it's not going to sound quite the same. So check out this next clip here and you'll see the different quality of audio. We're walking.
Yeah, we're walking, we're talking.
Well, we're talking audio though, so here, hopefully this sounds pretty good. We can't tell because we can't plug a headphone jack into this camera.
That's right.
But we are using the little toupee we stole off of your camera. It's a little bit breezy out here today, so that's certainly going to help out.
And we just wanted to, I guess, see what you guys think of this audio. It's cool that it has sort of like an auto detection mode in it. So because it sees us in front of the camera, that's where it's prioritizing. But if you're behind the camera and it doesn't have a person in it, then it's going to, let's turn it around. It's gonna pick up the audio from behind. So that gives us some nice options here.
Huh. There. Look at that.
Love it.
So hopefully the audio sounds pretty good.
Support the troops.
Support the troops.
All right, Dave, we're going to talk about video functionality here. Now, both cameras can shoot 4K 30p, and this is 420 8-bit footage. Now, we have a couple differences here when it comes to slow motion videography.
It's subtle. It's not a big deal.
Subtle. So interestingly enough, the ZV-1 can actually still shoot crazy slow motion at 960 frames per second for super slow motion.
Yeah, with the ZV Mark II, we limit you to 120 frames per second, so that's only 4 times slow motion. Plenty fine. It's plenty fine. I'm okay with that.
Oh yeah, and a lot of the newer Sony cameras, they're enabled with the slow and quick mode, and so yeah, 120 frames per second, you get some nice slow motion video footage. The other thing that I find really compelling about the ZV-1 Mark II is it has some modes in it that make it easier for people that are getting into videography. So it has this cine mode that allows you to actually adjust things like your color temperature. And so you have like this automatic kind of grade within the camera. And so you can choose different moods and different looks. And so you can really customize it to the vibe that you want to go for.
It's very impressive. And once you start kind of playing around with it, it's very exciting to actually step up your game from the basic video.
Yeah, and it gives you this different aspect ratio, and it is kind of more of a cinematic look. It forces you into 24 frames per second, so it does kind of look more like the classic movie look when you play back your footage. We haven't touched on image quality yet, and because these cameras are very much designed for vlogging, but we wanted to touch on what the image quality is like and how they differ.
I mean, that's it. I mean, you're primarily vlogging, but what if you come across a beautiful landscape or something, you're like, hey, that would make a great photograph. How do these cameras work in that aspect?
They're very capable stills cameras.
Yeah, we do have a 20 megapixel 1-inch sensor that is capable of some very good quality results. Now, it's not going to compete with your full frame guys out there, so don't worry about that. However, if you need a quick pinch photo here and there, it looks fantastic.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, my camera still has a mechanical shutter in it, where yours, the Mark II, they've actually taken away the mechanical shutter, which is a bold move, Sony, a bold move, because, you know, with it being such a fast scanning sensor, you don't necessarily need the mechanical shutter. And again, because it's more designed for video, they could just take that thing right out of there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm finding I'm not really seeing any rolling shutter at all with the shots we're taking today and what I've been playing around with for the last few days. Not really seeing that a factor at all. So you can keep your mechanical shutter. I'm fine without it on this camera.
Yeah, now Chris, as we talk about these cameras, I mean, the biggest thing is we do have a price difference here. So is it worthwhile for you to upgrade if you're someone that had the ZV-1?
100% I would say yes. Strictly based on the tripod socket placement. I would pay $200 for the lack of frustration of having to take my battery or take my grip off to change the battery or anything. But
yeah, I don't know, Dave, because I think if you're someone that is a ZV-1 owner already, I would say just get like the adapter and make your lens a little bit wider. But otherwise, if you're someone that's new getting into video stuff, then I would say I would seriously look at the Mark II, because it's really nice to have that better interface. I like the menu system. I like the touch control for the menu. And I think that they've just designed something that is easier to work with and and will make your vlogging experience that much better.
100%. Sony's done a very good job of making a very sort of particular product for a genre of people that want to vlog specifically. So, I mean, this is like a 90% vlogging camera is how I would look at that. With very good features like the defocus button or the product showcase functionality. It's really catering to that market very well.
Yeah, no, Chris, we want to know, what do you think of all three of the cameras that we talked about today? Are we totally off the mark with the ZV-1F? Should we have kept it in the video more? Let us know in the comments below.
And how big a deal is the tripod socket placement? Make sure you follow us on Instagram.
And if you're new to our channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so we can catch you again very soon.
Toss it. Good job.
I'm just gonna toss it.
Oh. Jesus Christ.
It was a nice toupee. I had a toupee too, but I don't know where it went. I'll find it later.
Hey, thanks for sticking around and watching our review on the ZV-1 Mark II. If you want to check out more of our recent videos, click up here. And if you're Canadian and you want to shop local, check out thecamerastore.com down here.